Firstly, I know, I know. I woke up a good 20 minutes ago, decided to throw on some mascara and film this. Honestly, I think I just need a distraction. I've got my final exam of my first semester at 2 o'clock, and why do they do exams in the afternoon? Why can't I just do it first thing in the morning, get it out the way so I don't have to sit and fester and think about it? But no, that's not what my institution has decided to do. It's fine, it's a remote one. As you can see, I'm in my bedroom at home. I'm not at uni because once this exam is done, I'll be on my semester break. So when I go back to uni, it will be my second semester. To try and distract myself from the ever looming exam that's approaching in the next few hours, I thought I would give you my thoughts and feelings on A Court of Frost and Starlight and then give you an update on A Court of Silver Flames, because I'm a bit of a way in and I haven't given you an update on this. But first things first, A Court of Frost and Starlight, 4 out of 5 stars. Are we surprised? No. This essentially is just a cute little, is it a novella? I don't even know if it's a novella or not. It basically takes place between Akawar and acosf. acosf. It takes place in during the winter solstice, which is, I guess, Christmas time for us. So I guess you could say it's like a Christmas novella, which is quite nice. So it's kind of nice to read around this time of year for sure. Yeah, and it basically goes through our characters and how they're dealing with the aftermath of the events in Akawar. And it's just a really nice kind of connecting bridge between Akawar and acosf. Is it necessary to read to understand things that go on in A Court of Silver Flames? No, but things in A Court of Silver Flames do reference this book. You know, things do happen in this book that are referenced in A Court of Silver Flames, but it's not to the point where you can't understand what's going on, really. So it's not like a core book in the series, but I definitely think it's worth it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I got through this in like a day. I had a great time, thoroughly enjoyed this. Again, I've always liked how Sarah J. Maas has handled the subject of trauma and how trauma affects people differently. I think in every single one of her books, she has done a fantastic job at representing that, and this book is no different. So, very good, highly recommend, 4 out of 5, thoroughly enjoyed. I had to then go straight to A Court of Silver Flames. I started this book yesterday morning, pretty much 24 hours ago. I am now on part 2, which is called Blade, and that is page 267. So I have read just shy of 300 words in the space of 24 hours. That's something I haven't done in quite some time. I feel like because I've read so much, there's a lot to unpack when it comes to my thoughts when it comes to this book, but I don't want to ramble on, so I'm going to try and keep it shortish and sweetish. I have said in every single one of these ACOTAR vlogs that Nesta as a character for me, I love her. I think she's great. I think she gets a lot of hate unnecessarily sometimes, but then again, you know, it's people's opinions. If you don't like her, you don't like her. It's understandable. But I personally love her as a character, and now that we've got a whole book that's like shy of 800 pages on her, I'm loving it. I am loving reading from her perspective and getting a much deeper insight into her thoughts and her feelings. It's really interesting reading characters, and the examples I'll give will be Rhys and Feyre. Obviously, in the previous books, I loved Rhys and Feyre. I loved them as a couple. I loved them separately as individuals. Like, I loved them. And I still do, still love them. But it's so interesting reading about them from Nesta's point of view, because there were moments when I was reading and I was like, ugh, Feyre, like, stop. But then I was like, wait, no, if I was reading this from Feyre's point of view, I would be having a very different reaction. And I just thought that was really, really interesting. And that's why I love multi-perspective books. I love getting that different perspective and those differing opinions and emotions. We also get Cassian's perspective in this book as well, which is very nice. I've always loved Cassian as a character. I've never had any like strong feelings towards his character. Like I've loved all the characters and I don't really have a bad word to say, but now again getting to see his thoughts and feelings and his perspectives on things, it's nice to grow that connection with him and get a deeper understanding of him and who he is as a character. So again, thoroughly enjoying that. We love an enemies to lovers, and that's obviously what this is. This book is smuttier than I thought it was going to be on the same level as Acawar, and Acawar does have some smutty bits in it. But Sarah J Maas, writing this book, decided to just add a little bit of extra spice. That's not a complaint. I was just not expecting it. And I had heard this is a spicy book, but I thought it would be on the same wavelength as her previous books. A little spicier than I was expecting, but still thoroughly enjoying it. The way Sarah J Maas writes about trauma and how different people process trauma is great. And how she's writing about how Nesta is currently processing the events of the war and how she's dealing with them and how that's compared to how other people have dealt with it, I think is done really well, and I'm very much enjoying seeing Nesta's character evolve. I don't want to say grow, because it's not that her character's growing, her character's evolving. And I think that it's evolving in a way where she's forced to face things about herself that she didn't necessarily want to face before, and having kind of basically being forced to face those things is hard. It's really, really hard, and I think Sarah J Maas is just representing it in a really good way. I also love, one thing I do love about these books is that, yes, the romance is strong, and, you know, the smuttiness is there's smuttiness. Sarah J Maas's plot never lacks. There is always such a strong plot threaded within her books. When I say her books, obviously I'm talking about the ACOTAR series. Within this series, the plot is so intricately sewn and so captivating and intriguing that even if there was no romance, or the romance wasn't as strong as a plot and there wasn't any smut, I would still be thoroughly enjoying this book and thoroughly intrigued, and I would want to know more, and I do want to know more. Like, the romance, yes, it's strong, it is a very prominent part of the book, but it's not the only driving force, and I really, really like that about the series as a whole. That's kind of like my first initial thoughts and feelings about A Court of Silver Flames. Obviously this is such a big book, and I tried to keep these as spoiler free as possible, but oh my gosh, you guys, I read the first part, so that means you know that things are going down, things are happening. Spoiler warning right now, if you have not read this book, even if you haven't read this book, spoiler. So we've just found out that Feyre's pregnant, and we all obviously knew it was going to happen because of what happens in A Court of Wings and Ruins. Like, she is now pregnant. She is pregnant. She is pregante. She is prenananant. And I am so happy for her and Rhysand. But then at the same time, I'm like, I'm so happy. But also, and Cassian says this at one point as well. He's like, I'm so happy for them. I'm so happy that Rhys has, like, found everything that he deserves. He's like, but I want it too. And you know what? I want it for you too, Cassian. I want it for you. I want it for Nesta. I want it for Elaine. I want it for Lucian. Those two, we're not even going to get into at this point. Obviously, they are obviously in this book, but they're not as prevalent. Like, those two together, they're in the book, but they're more separate. But we will get onto that probably at the end of the video when I talk about my overall thoughts and feelings. Okay, good. But I want everybody to be happy, and it's hard when they're so close to that happiness and it's there, but they're refusing to grab. It's there and they're just refusing to grab it, you know? I am a little gutted at the lack of more in this book. She obviously is in it, but she was a lot more prevalent in the previous books. But I'm assuming that is just because we are predominantly reading from Nesta's point of view, and Nesta and Maud don't really have that big of a connection, which is fine. I just hope that Sarah J. Maas just writes so many more books in this series so we can explore every single character and their lives, because even though they're still there, they're not as prominent because they're not as relevant to that character's life. Understandable, but I miss them. Same as Az. He's there. His presence is definitely there, but then he's not. And I'm like, come back, please. But I feel like, I mean, there's so much more of this book to go. So much has already happened. We've met some new characters. We've met Gwyn. Love her. I've got a good feeling about her, and I swear if that comes to bite me in the ass, I will not be best pleased. If me saying that ricochets and smacks me in the face, I will not be best pleased. But we've been introduced to Gwyn. We love Gwyn. We've got Clotho back. Love her. Yeah, we've been introduced to a couple new characters, and it's fun and it's nice and I like it. And can we just quickly talk about the new map? I mean, oh, it's stunning. And I love like how we have now obviously expanded more on the continent and the places on the continent, because obviously you've got the human realms and the fairy realms and the different fairy realms in the continents, and we are just having a great time. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have some breakfast, and again, as a big old distraction for the impending exam I've got this afternoon, I'm going to read more, and I will update you soon. I do not see me now reading another like 270 pages in a day, but I just literally all I really did yesterday was read. That's the update. I will speak to you soon. Okay, I just need to talk really quickly about this little trio that's currently forming between Nesta, Gwyn, and oh, this is what Emery. I'm kind of loving it. This little trio. I'm here for it so much. One, female power. I love that they're forming this friendship through training. Like, they're becoming physical weapons. Absolute blades. And at the same time, they're blossoming as beautiful trio friendship. And they're discussing smutty books. I just read one of the most in-depth, smuttiest scenes I think I've ever read in a book. And then the next chapter, Emery and Nesta are like, you read romance? I read romance. Do you read romance? I do read romance. Have you read this kind of romance? I have read this romance. And then Gwen's just there like, just like a little innocent being like, I read adventure. And they're like, okay, girlie, do you want to read romance? And she's like, I'll dabble in romance. I'm like, you'll dabble in romance? I love it. I love it. Friendship, wholesomeness, growth, evolvingness. And we just love strong, independent women. I'm going to keep reading. I'll update you soon. That is one of the most terrifying descriptions I have ever read. That is terrifying. Like, I don't remember reading like the descriptions of like the Ator. I don't remember the descriptions being so terrifying, but so I'm on page 360, chapter 30, what was that, 34, right? What is this place called? I have forgotten. Ooh, I remember it's ooh, that begins with a double O. Ooh. Urid. Urid? So, Nesta, Cassian, and Azriel are at Urid, the bog. And I'm not gonna say, like, why or anything like that. I don't want to give spoilers and stuff, but this is where they are. So if you've read the book, you know, right? And the description? I can't even tell you the creature's name. I don't know. I don't know if I'll find out. I've literally just read the description of a creature that Nesta encounters in the bog. Like, I can see it in my brain, which sounds so silly because, yeah, that's what you do when you read. But the description was, like, slow. Like, I felt the way it was written felt like dragged out, but not that's not a criticism, not a bad dragged out. Like, you know when you're watching a horror movie and like the suspense is building and then the thing, whatever the thing is, like slowly reveals itself like bit by bit, and you're just sat there watching this thing come to light, and you're like, you don't know, like you can't breathe. That is what I just experienced. Oh my gosh. Okay, but yeah, I needed to share that with you. I truly think that Sarah J. Maas's writing has improved exponentially, exceptionally. It has improved with each and every book in this series. Am I enjoying this more than Acawar? I wouldn't say I'm not enjoying it less. I'm not enjoying it more. I'm enjoying it differently. This is currently sitting at like a 4/4.5 stars. But yeah, that description was phenomenal, and I literally like closed the book. I literally said out loud, I was like, what did I just read? What did I just witness in my brain? Okay, I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna read this next chapter and see where it goes. Oh, this is a... Right, is it Kelpie or Kelpie? I'm gonna have to decide how to pronounce it. No, it did not. No, it did not. No, it did not. No, it did not. I am literally just sitting here binge reading this book as a massive distraction for my exam in a couple of hours. Hence why a lot of this vlog is probably going to be me in this position, like here on the sofa looking like this. But I've just gotten to a bit where if I'm looking a little flustered, this book is filthy. But I've just gotten to a bit where they're doing one of their morning training sessions, and Nesta, Gwyn, I want to say Gwyn, not Gwen. Gwen? What? Why am I Gwyn? So yeah, and Emery, they're doing one of their morning training sessions. They're doing their curls, having a bit of a chit chat, a girl goss. And basically, the reason I wanted to comment on this is because Gwyn is basically explaining to Nesta meditation. Obviously, it's not called meditation in the book. They've called it, what was it, mind stilling? That the Valkyries used to do to like still their mind and calm their mind. And it just made me think that, just to add on top of my comment of how Sarah J. Maas approaches the topic of trauma and how people process trauma, firstly would like to say that if you have never tried meditation, I would highly recommend it. If you don't know where to start, guided meditations are a great place to start. I feel like the act of meditation is very forgiving, especially when you do a guided meditation, because usually through the guided meditations that I've done, near enough every single one of them gently reminds you that if you find your mind wandering during the meditation, it's okay. There shouldn't be any pressure when it comes to meditation. There's just you in the present moment, focusing on you and yourself and your soul. And when you find your mind starts to wander, and I can only speak from my personal experience, I tend to then get quite harsh with myself, because I'm like, well, what, you're meant to be meditating. Why are you thinking about this? You're supposed to be, not thinking. It's also good practice of patience. I've come to learn that I'm not the most patient person when it comes to myself. Patience with others, oh, I could have it for days. Patience with myself, absolutely none. Which, why? Why can't I be patient with myself, My point of blabbering on about this is that I'm feeling quite connected to the writing of this book, to the messages that Sarah J. Maas is portraying and giving in this book, particularly, especially when it comes to processing and recovery. And yeah, just kind of having this brief description of meditation and the benefits of it just made me quickly reflect on what it's done for me, how I should really do it more often. I do not do it enough, and how just being still and calm and being okay with the present, like, that's enough sometimes. And it's okay that that's enough sometimes. But yeah, I just wanted to quickly throw that in there. I am on, what page am I on? I am getting through this book, you guys. I am on page 396, nearly at 400 pages. You know when I said earlier that I didn't see me reading another 200 pages in a day? That comment is nowhere to be seen. It is gone. It has vanished. It's been erased. I have no record of it. So... But anyway, I think it's like just gone 12. The exam is at 2, but I need to like log in at like 1:45. And then it's for 2 hours. And then once this exam's done, my first semester is finished. We're getting there, you guys. We're getting there, but I'm going to keep distracting myself with A Court of Silver Flames. And I love the title of this book, because it makes complete and utter sense. Complete and utter sense. If you read it, again, you know why. But I love it. It's very clever. And I'm going to be very sad when this is finished. And I'm worried that even if I move on to her other works, I don't know what works of hers I'm going to start next, if I'm either going to go for the Throne of Glass series or if I'm going to go for the Crescent City series. I'm just worried I'm not going to get the same, But then again, I don't know. Because obviously, I know the Throne of Glass series she wrote when she was younger, and I keep seeing like TikToks of like people being like, when you read Throne of Glass after ACOTAR, and like and it all fades to black. Like the spicy scenes, instead of getting the follow through of the spiciness, it just like fades to black. And people are like, where's the spice? Where is the spice? Maybe I might, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, back to it. I am aware, okay, I am aware how I look right now. But I got my period today. The postman is literally right there. Oh my god. He scared the absolute crap out of me. Okay, like I was saying, woke up, got my period, pain ensued, And I just decided then and there that today's not the day to do anything. So I am in comfies, my hair is a mess, I've got no makeup on, and I intend to stay this way for as long as possible. And I have been reading A Court of Silver Flames with a hot water bottle on my back. It's been great. I am now on part 4, which is called Ataraxia, which is page, oh my gosh, what is it, 650, I believe. This is how far I am. I'm so close to finishing it. I can't remember when I last updated you, and I feel like so much has happened since I last spoke to you guys, but I'm just gonna give a quick rundown of how I'm feeling. Has this book made me cry? Yes. Is that partly because I am emotional and on my period? Probably, but the last few chapters that I've just read have been beautiful, and I just need to express my feelings about them. So we're gonna do that, okay? Okay, cool. Nesta's character development has been phenomenal, and as a character that I'm not gonna say loved from the get-go, but I always liked her. This was never a secret. I have always liked Nesta. I always respected her. This book has taken that to a whole new level. A whole new level. I love her. My heart reaches out to her, and seeing her go through her own internal battles and conquering them and coming out the other side of them as a better person has been such a joy to read, and I have loved every minute of it. The newfound family in this book is, again, I'm just going to use the word phenomenal again. There's obviously the found family that is grown within the first part of ACOTAR, the inner circle, as you will. And Nesta has never really fit. She's part of it, and she always will be and always has been, especially with, you know, being Feyre's sister and with Cassian. But she's never really fit. And now that she has grown her own family, she has created her own family that she loves. And it's a small one at the minute, but sometimes that's all you need. This little trio that has formed, her, Emery, and Gwyn, is just stunning. I love it so much. The amount of times I've been reading moments between the three of them and like giggling because it's reminded me of moments of spending time with my friends and that love that you feel for each other, that support that you have for each other is beautiful. And Sarah J. Maas has done an excellent job at portraying that and showing that slow growth as well, that slow growth of trust between the three of them. It's done stunningly, and the scene or the part in the book when they're in the library together and they're basically just having a girly sleepover just sent me like making each other friendship bracelets. I got emotional, okay? I got emotional. I feel like I haven't talked a lot about the romance. And this is obviously a very heavy romance book. Very dirty. It was very smutty. But it's very romance heavy. Enemies to lovers trope, as you will. And I've been eating it up, kind of loving the smut. And I don't want to spoil it, but I do want to talk about it. So I'm going to put a little spoiler warning here. If you haven't read the book and you don't want anything ruined, especially when it comes to Nesta and Cassian, spoiler warning now. But I just need to talk about it. So, it has now been confirmed, and we all knew this was coming. We all knew it was going to happen, but it's now been confirmed that Cassian and Nesta are mates. They are mates. They are bonded together. They are mates. And the bond clicked into place when they were lovemaking at the winter solstice. It was a beautiful scene. I loved every minute of it. And it felt so right. I'm so happy. One, I'm happy that it wasn't rushed. It's taken a big chunk of the book to get there, and I'm happy about that. I'm happy, even though it was kind of inevitable, we knew it was coming, it wasn't rushed. Sarah J. Maas did not rush this mating bond, she did not rush this connection, and I loved that. And it hurts when Nesta, like, you know, pushes him away a little bit because she's scared, and I get that. But then within the same couple of pages, both her and Cassian, separately, when they're not together, they're like, look, this is silly. When I'm gonna go see him, we're gonna apologise, we're gonna work it out, it's gonna be great. And you're like, yes. We went from that to them being like, we're idiots, we belong together in the space of like 3 pages. That's beautiful. I love that. Let's not waste our time. And then Sarah J. Maas just goes ahead with chapter 62 and 63. After Nesta's been consoled, I think that's the right word, by Emery and Gwyn about the argument, the fight she had with Cassian when they admit that they're mates and stuff, and she comes to the realisation that she's being an idiot and she just needs to talk to him and everything will be fine. And they're staying at Emery's house. Sarah J. Maas just had to do the whole, now this is the first time Gwyn's ever left the mountain. No. It's ever left the house. Sorry about that. My sister-in-law rang me, lol. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I was just basically like crying about the fact that literally as soon as they both basically accept that they're mates and they were gonna like meet up and resolve their argument they had, Cassian and Rhys arrive at Emery's house and what's this? They've been kidnapped by the Ilarian warriors to take part in their blood rite. Even though they didn't want to. Sure, they did the like initiation thing and proved that they could do it, but they didn't want to. And did they care? No, they just broke in to Emery's house. Gwyn's first time being outside of the library and the house. Like outside. Leaving the house. Right. She's a priestess, yeah. She, like, understandably is, like, traumatised by males. And the first time she leaves, she gets kidnapped by a bunch. So, SJM, this is a personal message to you. I'm not okay. I am emotionally vulnerable right now. And I just hope that in these last few hundred pages, couple hundred pages, I just hope you don't do me dirty and leave me brokenhearted at the end of this book, especially since I have no idea when you're planning on releasing the next one. If there's going to be a next one, I hope there is. I'm assuming there is. I'm pretty sure I've heard that this series isn't finished. So, SJM. Please, just please. Just please. But, spoiler talk over. I'm thoroughly enjoying this book. My current rating of it, I will be giving it, at the moment it's now 4.5 out of 5 stars. I don't know what about it isn't hitting that 5-star mark for me. It's getting very close. I might even be at like 4.75. It's getting so close at being that 5 stars for me. We will see how I feel at the end of it. I will return. And I'm scared. But I will. Okay, speak soon. Okay. It's time to talk about this book. It's time. It's finished. I'm finished. That's about it. I'm finished. Thank you so much for watching. Okay, you lovely lot. I have done it. I have finished A Court of Silver Flames, which means I have now read the whole of the ACOTAR series, or what is currently released of the ACOTAR series. Okay, I have thoughts and feelings that we should just get into, shall we? Yes, let's do that. I feel like this vlog in general wasn't as vloggy as my previous vlogs have been, and that's more just because I binge read this book. Like, once I would sit down and open it to read, I would be reading for hours, and I would just be flying through it. So there weren't really moments for me to kind of catch or record aesthetically pleasing shots, because honestly, I didn't care. All I wanted to do was read this book. And I think that in itself says a lot of how much I enjoyed it. So as an overall rating, I gave this 4.75 out of 5 stars. I will try and explain why I didn't give it 5 out of 5. Bear with me, I'm going to try and articulate my words. A Court of Silver Flames, if you hadn't gathered by the vlog, is obviously the story of Nesta and Cassian post-Acca War. I've said this already in the vlog, I'm going to say it again, I've said it in previous ACOTAR vlogs, but how Sarah J Maas talks about trauma and mental health is beautiful. And reading the acknowledgements at the end of the book, she even talks about how while she was writing this book, she herself was going through struggles, and that's why she was able to express Nesta's feelings in such depth, because she was essentially writing what she was feeling and what she was going through. So to be able to have the strength to shed light on your own personal struggles, that in itself is phenomenal, and I'm very thankful that Sarah J Maas shared that with us all, because that's not an easy thing to do. And at this point, this woman knows that she has a very big following, so she knew that a lot of people would be reading this book, and she still felt like that it was something she needed to do. She needed to share what it's like to struggle with mental health and mental illness, and to share her story through Nesta, and I thought that was beautiful. Nesta and Cassian, we knew they were endgame from the moment they met, okay? It's no surprise, it's no shock, it's no horror. We knew it was endgame. Point number 1, these two are animals. They're filthy. But I love it. I'm here for it. This is, compared to Akamath and Acca War, I would say this is smuttier. Nesta and Cassian just have no chill. I kind of love it though. There's that element, but there's obviously the more romantic side that we get to see grow between the two. At first it starts off as, you know, just physical, but we all know that there's more to it than just the physical aspect and element of their relationship. And spoiler alert, if you don't want to know, spoiler alert, but obviously they become mates. They are mated, they are bonded. The book ends with them preparing for their mating ceremony or bonding ceremony. We knew they were endgame, and I'm very happy they ended as endgame. I would have not been best pleased if Sarah J Maas did like an Uno reverse and like threw us all under the bus and did something unexpected, okay? There are just some things you just don't do. That would have been one of them. But she didn't do that. It was great. It was fine. The other thing that I absolutely love about this book that I have already spoken about, and I'm going to say it again, but the found family, the new found family created in this book, the sisterhood that is born between Nesta, Emery, and Gwyn is poetic. I love this trio so much, and the strength that they give each other brought tears to my eyes. It was just so beautifully done, and I loved every single moment when all three of them were on the page. The Valkyrie plotline was brilliant. The morning training sessions, how Nesta reached out to help others, and in that way she was also helping herself and bringing all of these females together, to bring all of these females together for their own good was beautiful, and it got me fired up. Like, it got me wanting to go out and do like a morning routine exercise to build my strength and conquer my enemies. Do you know what I mean? Like, it gave me that strength, and I haven't felt such sisterhood in such a long time. Probably one of my new favourite trios that I've ever read. Like, hands down, Nesta, Emery, and Gwyn. They are the trio. And spoiler, spoiler, but when they were kidnapped to take part in the blood rite, it's called the blood rite, isn't it? I'm pretty sure. I was fuming at first, but I knew my girlies were going to find each other, and the fact that they did it, they found each other through the bracelets that they made. The fact that Nesta made the bracelets, made a wish and made the bracelets so that they could always find each other, and that it glowed in the direction that they were in. It was beautiful. And they obviously found each other, and they just banded together, and I can't praise how well written this found family was formed. Sarah J. Maas knows what she's doing when it comes to found family. She just knows. And she knows she knows. She knows that she knows. Another part, kind of circling back to the topic of trauma and mental health. The scenes, or the parts of the book when Cassian and Nesta are venturing through the mountains after Nesta has her explosion with Feyre and Amarin, and Cassian takes her away for a few days to go hiking. That was one of the most heartbreaking, relatable, soul-shattering, then soul-repairing moments that I have ever read. And at the end, when they reach the lake and Cassian just holds her while she just crumbles, it was beautifully written. And, you know, even within all the political drama and plotting and smut that is in this book, there are some serious moments of beauty, and that was one of them. And I just wanted to highlight that. Now, there is just something I do just want to quickly sprinkle on. I think these are the reasons why it's a 4.75 and not a 5. So, reason number 1. 2 characters that I love. Rhysand and Feyre. Adore them. Love them. One of my favourite couples ships to have ever existed. Why did they annoy the hell out of me in this book? Like, I still love them. I still adore them. I'm so happy they got the happy ending they deserve. They annoyed the hell out of me. Like, every time I read their names, they were doing or saying something that made me be like, why are you talking right now? This may just be an homage to Sarah J Maas's writing, because we were obviously reading from the thoughts and point of view of Nesta most of the time, and Cassian. Did Sarah J Maas write them deliberately that way because that's how Nesta and Cassian see them? Obviously not annoying or frustrating, like they love them, their family. But, for example, it was mostly with Nesta, when we were reading from Nesta's point of view. Feyre and Rhysand, they would say things or do things, and I just understand why Nesta finds them so infuriating at times. I get it, now that I'm not reading from their perspectives and it's from the outside and I'm seeing them from the outside, I understand how moments Nesta just wants to throw something at Feyre. I get it now. Which, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, because I love Feyre. Her in Acawar floored me. She was phenomenal. But there was something about her in this book, and spoiler alert, even though I've already said this in the vlog, maybe it's the fact that she's pregnant, you know? Like, maybe, and like, the pregnancy trope is not my favourite, but Feyre is pregnant throughout this book. She's pregnant. She is pregnant throughout this book, so she can do very little. So she brings very little to the plot. Because she's pregnant, Rhysand is so annoying because he's so protective, obviously, because it's his mate and they're bonded and all that jazz. So he's very frustrating because he's so protective of her. So those two within this book, obviously they have a new priority. Feyre's safety for the baby. But I just did not care for it. The pregnancy plotline did drive another part of the plot forward. So it wasn't just, oh, she's pregnant and there was no need for it. It did drive parts of the plots forward. So it wasn't an unnecessary pregnancy, which is great. But maybe that's why. And I'm not the biggest fan of the pregnancy trope. So maybe that's why I found them so frustrating and annoying. Another thing was Mor and Az. Morrigan and Asriel were nowhere near as prominent in this book as they were in the previous two books. And again, that's probably just because, one, we're following from Nesta's point of view, and Nesta doesn't have the same relationship with those two characters as Feyre did. And that's why we saw more of them in the previous books. We saw more of Az than we did of Mor. We did see Mor, but not as much as I would have loved to have seen her. The same with Az. I missed them. I missed them a lot, and I would have loved to have had more of them. But at the same time, like I say, I understand why they weren't as prevalent in this book. And that's just because they do not have the same relationship with Nesta as they do with Feyre. So I get it. I do. I feel like, as always, I need to talk about my boys, Tamlin and Lucian. Like, I've got to do it. I have to do it. Okay, so again, to no surprise, they are not a big part of this story. Obviously, they are not as intertwined with Nesta as they are with Feyre. We see more of Lucian than Tamlin, and Tamlin is in it a couple of times. I feel like my thoughts on this goes more into what I think is going to happen in future books. So I think the next book we're going to get will either be like an Elaine driven story, and with that we're going to get a lot more Lucian and Asriel, right? Because there is currently this little triangle between them, because obviously Elaine and Lucian are mates, but Elaine is showing zero interest for my guy. Absolutely none. She's having none of it. And then there's like little hints that she's got feelings for Asriel, and Asriel might have feelings for her, but we need to obviously resolve the whole Asriel Mor sitch first before exploring that a bit more. But yeah, I feel like the way Sarah J Maas might move forward with this, because Nesta and Cassian's story was wrapped up beautifully. So it wouldn't make sense to continue with this storyline with Nesta and Cassian. It wouldn't. It would make sense to now go over to Elaine, who has a lot of question marks that I want answers to. It would make sense to then explore her relationship a bit further with the boys, with Lucian and Az. It would be nice to see her relationship she's grown with, is it the Wraiths? Crescent, oh, I've forgotten their names and I feel really bad. But the two Wraiths that she's kind of befriended in the townhouse that help her cook, that like she cooks with them and stuff. It'd be really nice to explore their friendship a bit more. And just to get her thoughts and feelings after what happened after coming out of the cauldron and becoming High Fae, you know? Like, she went through it too, and that was such a good point as well that was made in this book. Like, Elaine literally says to Nesta, she's like, you're acting like you're the only one that went into the cauldron. She's like, you're acting like you're the only one that went through that trauma. She was like, honey, I was literally thrown in first. And then I was kidnapped again. So the fact that Elaine really started to show her voice more in this book got me excited and got me feeling that we are going to see her side of it in the following book to come, which I hope would be soon. Sarah J. Maas, girly please, I know you've got the Crescent City series. Come on now, you know, when was this written? When was this released? Oh, 2021. This wasn't even that long ago. Interesting. So this wasn't released that long ago. So hopefully maybe this year. SJM, if you could just pop it my way, that would be great. I wonder what it would be called. Because obviously A Court of Silver Flames, the silver flames referring to Nesta's power, and they show a silver flames in her eyes. Ugh, iconic, loved it. But yeah, I wonder what it would be called if it was a story relating to Elaine. To wrap up my rambled thoughts, I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I loved it a lot. I didn't love it as much as Acawar, because as you know, Acawar, if you saw my previous vlog, was a 5 out of 5 star read for me. This, for why I said, just missed the mark, so it's 4.75, but I still thoroughly enjoyed this book. I loved it. It's actually made me want to go back and read it from the start, but I would love to read it and annotate it, because Sarah J. Maas is known to foreshadow, and you don't really get the foreshadowing your first time reading it. For obvious reasons, because you don't know it's there. So I would love to go back, reread it, and try and see if I can pinpoint those moments. For example, I know there's foreshadowing in Akamath of Feyre being Rhys's mate with Amryn. Like, Amryn smells it on her. And there's that foreshadowing, but you wouldn't have got that the first time around reading it. So there might be something I do in the future. I'm not too sure. But 4.75 out of 5 stars. Loved it. Wrapped up Nesta's storyline beautifully. I'm here for it. It was great. Enjoyed it a lot. So, my loves, that is now the end, or, well, not the end, but currently the end of my ACOTAR reading series. Thank you so much if you have watched every single one and have liked or commented or subscribed because of them. I had so much fun doing this, and I will definitely be doing more vlogs like this in the future, like series reading vlogs. I just thought it was so much fun to film. Maybe I'll do it with other Sarah J. Maas's books. I have got The Assassin's Blade and I have got House of Earth and Blood. I don't know what I want to read now, because I literally finished this yesterday. So I don't really know what I'm going to read. Maybe I'll try and finish Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. That has kind of been on my backlog for a little bit. I would love to get through that and read that. But I've got some books that I'm so excited to read. I just feel I've got a book hangover, basically. I'm feeling a little hungover from finishing A Court of Silver Flames. I am going to miss the characters and that world so much. I'm not ready to delve into another one. So I don't know what I'm going to read next, but either way, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment the fire emoji if you made it this far. You guys are the real ones if you have. I hope you enjoyed. Have a lovely February. Happy February. And I will hopefully see you all in the next video. Mwah! Bye!